Welcome to the Committee
of Adjustments. May I have a mover and a seconder to call this meeting to order? Henry and Mike. So this Committee of Adjustments meeting held on September 27th, 2023, come to order at 6:02 p.m. All in favor? Carried. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest this evening? Let the record show that there are none. May I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the previous minutes? Brad and Henry. That the Committee of Adjustments minutes dated August 23rd, 2023 be adopted as presented. All in favor? Carried. Welcome to this Committee of Adjustments meeting to allow the public the opportunity to express their views regarding the proposed minor variances and consents within the Township of Springwater. Each applicant and their agent is applicable if applicable, will be given the opportunity to present the applications to the committee and public. Additional information on each of the applications, including any presentation material, is available in the committee's agenda on the township's website. Following those members of the public who registered to make an oral submission prior to 5:30 p.m. yesterday, September 26, 2023, will be given the opportunity to do so. All oral submissions will be included in this meeting's minutes and form part of the public record, including the name and address of the speaker as information collected under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. The minutes of the meeting will be posted on the township website. All comments or questions should be addressed through the chair. Application 1. Will the Secretary Treasurer please introduce the first application, item number 4.1 on the agenda?
Thank you, Chairman Chapman. Item 4.1 on the agenda is minor variance application A1623 submitted by R. Kim of Rockham Design, Inc. on behalf of M. Bose, owner of lands known municipally as 1081 Sunnydale Road. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit a residential unit in an existing accessory building that exceeds the maximum unit to primary dwelling ratio and has a reduced minimum interior setback. The applicants are requesting a maximum additional residential unit size of 82.23 square meters, representing 47.2% of the gross floor area of the primary dwelling, plus a covered porch, whereas section 3.48.3A permits a maximum of 40% of the total gross floor area of the primary dwelling to a maximum of the permitted accessory building floor area for the applicable zone, or a maximum of 115 square meters, whichever is the lesser. The applicants are also requesting a maximum total accessory building size of 82.23 square meters, whereas section 4.3.12 permits a maximum of 65 square meters and a minimum interior side yard width of 1.6 meters, whereas section 4.3.6B requires a minimum of 3 meters.
Have any additional correspondence and or comments been received?
The chief building official stated no concerns for the application.
Can I please have the applicant introduce themselves and provide comment, if any?
I'm the homeowner, but I believe Rock Kim is on Zoom.
Hi, Rock Kim. If you had any additional comments, you can go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Rakim. We are trying to change the existing shed area to convert it to secondary unit. So all the variances are existing unit building what we have right now. If you have any questions, let us know.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public registered to make an oral submission?
Thank you, Mayor Chapman. Chair Chapman. There are no members of the public who have registered to make an oral submission.
Thank you. Do any members of the committee wish to comment or have any questions concerning the application? May I have a motion from one of the committee members for application A16-23? Mike,
Sure, yes, I recommend the application be approved as per the planning report.
I have a seconder? Henry? That the Committee of Adjustments, having given consideration to the applicable provisions of Section 45 of the Planning Act, the official plan of the Township of Springwater, the characteristics of the land in question and its surrounding has addressed in the planning report on the application dated September 27, 2023, the correspondent received and information presented at the hearing held on September 27, 2023, and that the decision of the matter hereby approve application A16-23 as applied for. All in favor? Committee all in favor, carried. Sorry, I read it extra. Application number 2, will the Secretary Treasurer please introduce the next application, item number 4.2 on the agenda?
Thank you, Chair Ma Chapman. Item 4.2 on the agenda is minor variance application A1723, submitted by You and I Always Inc., owner of lands known municipally as 2840 Highway 26. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a detached accessory building, a pool enclosure, that will result in the exceedance of the total maximum area provisions. The applicant is requesting a maximum total area of accessory buildings or structures of 130.06 square meters, whereas section 33.3.14.1H permits a maximum total area of accessory buildings or structures of 115 square meters in total.
Have any additional correspondence and or comments been received?
Yes, the chief building official stated no concerns to the application. That's it, sorry.
Can I please have the applicant introduce themselves and provide comment, if any?
Yes, my name is Junior Powell. I am one of the owners of the property and directors of You and I Always Inc. We just want to request to have the pool cover installed on in addition to the pool permit that we applied for in conjunction with this accessory building. We did have a permit before for a pool house. The difference back then was that permit was issued because it was connected to the main dwelling by a walkway. So this accessory building, the pool will be the same size, but the accessory building or the cover will be slightly smaller than the original design that was permitted about 3-4 years ago.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public registered to make an oral submission?
Thank you. There are no members of the public who have registered to make an oral submission.
Thank you. Do any members of the committee wish to comment or have any questions concerning the application? May I have a motion from one of the committee members for application A17-23? Brad, may I have a seconder? Mike? That the Committee of Adjustments, having given consideration to the applicable provisions of Section 45 of the Planning Act, the official plan of the Township of Springwater, the characteristics of the land in question and its surrounding as addressed in the planning report on the application dated September 27, 2023, the correspondence received and the information presented at the hearing held on September 27, 2023, and the decision on the matter hereby approve application A 17-23 as applied for. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Application number 3. Will the Secretary Treasurer please introduce the next application, item number 4.3 on the agenda?
Thank you, Chair Ma Chapman. Item 4.3 on the agenda is consent application B0923, submitted by White Owl Properties Limited, care of G. Finkelstein, on behalf of Redcrest Realty Investment Corporation, owner of lands being legally described as part of lots 49 and 50 on concession 1, former township of Medonte. The purpose of the application is for the applicant to obtain approval to establish an easement over lands being legally described as part of lots 49 and 50 on concession 1, former township of Medonte. Roll number 4341-020-001-02305 with no municipal address. The purpose of the easement is to provide an outlet to the Sturgeon River for stormwater from the White Owl Truck Maintenance Center located at 233 Castle Drive. The easement is Part 8 on Reference Plan 51R 43305.
Have any additional correspondence and or comments been received?
Yes, the chief building official stated no concerns. Infrastructure and operations have no objections and will provide detailed engineering review associated with the site plan approval process. Nottawassaga Valley Conservation Authority has no objection to the approval of the application, and Hydro One has no comments or concerns at this time.
Can I please have the applicant introduce themselves and provide comment, if any?
Hello, Chairman Chapman, members of the committee. My name is Gary Bell. I am a planner working with Skelton Brumwell in Barrie. And with me tonight is Mr. Tom Jones. Tom is the senior property manager for White Owl, who in turn own and have the operation of the Miller Waste Site Truck Center down the road. The purpose is to create an easement over about 2,700 square feet of Redcrest land. The easement is to go to White Owl, and it will be the end of a pipe that exists. The storm sewer exists and its outlets to the Sturgeon River. This whole matter was required because the township public works staff said it had to be an easement to be held by White Owl rather than an easement to the municipality. So White Owl has done all of the requirements of the application. You have a very good staff report in front of you. So on behalf of White Owl, I ask that you approve it with the conditions that were recommended.
Thank you. Do any members of the committee wish to comment or have any questions concerning the application? Seeing none, may I have a motion from one of the committee members for the application B09-23? Henry?
I move that we accept the proposal with the recommendations put forth by the township.
May I have a seconder? Mike? That the Committee of Adjustments, having given consideration to the applicable provisions of Section 53 of the Planning Act, the official plan of the Township of Springwater, the characteristics of the land in question and its surrounding, and addressed in the planning report on the application dated September 27, 2023, the correspondence received and the information presented at the hearing held on September 27, 2023, and the decision on the matter hereby approve application B09-23, subject to the following conditions. 1, that the applicant satisfy all the requirements, financial and otherwise, of the municipality. 2, that the applicant provide 2 copies of the registered survey and the easement prepared by Ontario Land Surveyor. 3, that the that the owner applicant satisfy and be responsible for all costs to satisfy section 65 of the Drainage Act 1990, if applicable. And 4, that the applicant provide copies of the draft deeds identifying the easement in favor of 2333 Castle Drive, White Owl Properties Limited. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, committee chair and committee.
Will the secretary treasurer please introduce the next application, item number 4.4 on the agenda?
Thank you, Chair Chapman. Item 4.4 on the agenda is consent application B1023 submitted by M and N Ritchie, owner of lands known municipally as 145 Queen Street East. The purpose of the application is for approval of a surplus farm dwelling consent to sever a parcel of land consisting of approximately 1.95 hectares and 100 meters of lot frontage along Queen Street East, which contains an existing single-family dwelling. The property owners propose to retain approximately 49.8 hectares of farmland with the existing agricultural buildings and structures.
Have any additional correspondence and or comments been received?
The chief building official stated no concerns. Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority has no objection to the approval of the application, and the county of Simcoe would have no objection to proposed consent subject to the severed residential lot being reduced in size to approximately 1.25 hectares and including the following conditions of approval. 1, that the applicant shall remove the existing entrance from County Road 19, Queen Street East, that provides access to the east side of the surplus farm dwelling to be demolished, and restore the boulevard to its original condition to the satisfaction of the County of Simcoe. 2, that prior to the issuance of certificate of consent, the applicant shall demolish the original farm dwelling to satisfy the requirements of the Township of Springwater Temporary Use Agreement TU 2021-001 and County of Simcoe Conditional Entrance Permit number 4219. And 3, that the retained agricultural lands be rezoned to prohibit residential dwellings.
Can I please have the applicant introduce themselves and provide comment if any?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and Secretary Treasurer. My name is Gord Russell. I'm a land use planning consultant. I'm here on behalf of Nancy and Mike Ritchie and their daughter Sarah, who are in the audience tonight. The application is for a consent application. It is to sever a surplus dwelling from the farm property, and the original proposal was to sever a larger parcel, which was reviewed and the comments were received based on that original sketch plan. And if possible, I've got hard copies, but if we could put up both sketch plans at the same time, that would be excellent. And then I can go through it with the pointer. But if you'd like hard copies, I've got them here. So would you like me to distribute, or is it okay up there? Okay. So while we're getting that ready, the lands are designated agriculture in both the county official plan and the township official plan. The zoning bylaw for the township identifies the entire farm to be zoned agriculture as well as environmental protection. The lands to be severed, regardless of the size, basically are zoned agriculture at the moment. And it is proposed that we provide a greater buffer area, and that greater buffer area would then subsequently be rezoned environmental protection, and the retained lands would be rezoned agricultural consolidation, which is an AC zone. So this sketch plan is the compromise. We worked through the night to achieve a reduction in lot frontage and lot area. And we believe that this is a very good effort to compromise with the county of planning staff. So they wanted us to reduce the agricultural lands that were being removed from the original farm. So what we did, and can we look at both plans together, or is that technically not achievable? So what we did was we basically carved back the proposed lot frontage and lot area. The building itself, there's a single detached dwelling on the property now, with an attached garage, septic system, and well. What we are trying to achieve is to ensure that when we did our environmental impacts analysis, that we provide sufficient buffer area between the creek and the woodland, or the wetland area surrounding the creek, to the lot fabric itself. So we are trying to incorporate the 30-meter setback that's required under the growth plan for development. Development constitutes the creation of a lot, and this would be that situation. So what we had proposed was to incorporate that vegetation protection area within the lot, and remove the strip of agricultural lands to the south, which I'm going to just take my pointer and this area right here. And we were going to incorporate it right to the bush line, all those lands as part of the original proposal before the county's comments. And that did two things, but basically that area is limited in terms of being able to be farmed, and two, it would create the buffer area that we wanted, which would consist of a fair bit of that area for the vegetation buffer area. So that by creating the vegetation buffer area, we're relinquishing our usability of those lands for agricultural purposes, because they're not supposed to be tilled. They're supposed to be left in a natural state. So we believe, from an environmental perspective, that the first lot proposal is the better one. The county has come back on the side of agriculture and said, try to maintain as much agricultural lands as possible on the retained lands. We can ask you to approve that consent proposal, the larger lot with the environmental protection, or we can ask you to approve the subsequent revised lot sketch plan that shows a smaller frontage and a smaller depth of the lot. And so this plan right now, that's the second option that we have, and it shows how the land would be developed, beyond the existing dwelling, septic system, and well and driveway area. It would show an amenity area and a workshop at the rear of the dwelling. So there's the proposed workshop, there's the proposed amenity area, the driveway down to the workshop. That will happen in the future. At the moment, we've got our hands full with the dwelling, the septic system, and the driveway, and the well. That's what we can achieve today. So the lot frontage on this lot proposal is 90 meters. We took off a 10-meter section off the west end or west side of the lot. So that's all agricultural land, and that would have been right back to the bush line. And then we took off this area here as well. So that would achieve what I believe the intent of the comments from the county. They wanted 1.25 hectares for a lot. We've got it down to 1.44 hectares, bearing in mind that of that 1.44 hectares, the green area is going to be environmental protection at I think it's a 0.13 of hectare. So if you took the 0.13 vegetative buffer area off of the 1.44 hectare lot, usability, the development area would be very close to what the county's asking for. And I think that they would appreciate the efforts that we've made here. If we go back, if we cut off the lot any further, it just gets so close to the dwelling that they won't have any amenity area at the back of their house. So we work with the both Sarah and Mike and Nancy, and last night, and we went over what we could do and what is reasonable, and we think that this is a very good compromise for all around. Bearing in mind that the first proposal, nobody was objecting to it. It was just that the recommendation from the county was that we try to reduce the lot area. But the township planning staff recommended approval for that lot size. So now that you know the story, I'm going to ask all of you what you would prefer. Would you like to see a much better environmental protection area, and which means a larger lot at the rear, or would you like to go with the recommendation from the county that their preference would be a smaller lot, try to maintain the agricultural area? At the end of the day, there should be a buffer area more enhanced than what is there now, but the second proposal doesn't include that. One of the requirements from the Conservation Authority is that the buffer area be rezoned EP. And so I proposed a draft zoning amendment to show how that would work. And that was part of the submission along with my planning justification report. So in the end, we're here to go with whatever lot the committee deems most appropriate. Either try to save that sliver of land that isn't going to be much good for agriculture, but would be very good for a buffer for the stream and wetland area. And at the end of the day, when the farmlands are then merged with the settlement area of Elmville, one day the development is going to rezone these lands anyway for environmental protection. So you're going to lose the agricultural lands sometime in the future, but you just won't be today. But you sacrifice the environmental protection buffer area. So I'm in your hands. I'd like to have some direction, and then I'll proceed with whatever proposal you would like best. Either one conforms to the county official plan, conforms to the township's official plan, complies to the township zoning bylaw, and we are able to work with either plan proposal that you deem is the most appropriate between those two choices.
Thank you. Now the diagram that's up, is that the second proposal, reduced land, or is that the first proposal?
That's the second proposal, the reduced lot area that would comply to the request of the planning staff at the county. They're not demanding it. They're just saying that they would support that proposal if it was reduced. They're not saying that they're objecting to the first proposal. They were just saying that they would prefer a smaller lot. And that's what we've been able to achieve on the second proposal.
Do we have a picture of the first proposal, just so we can see the difference?
Yeah, I'll pull that up for us. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show both at the same time.
That was the one that was in the staff report, right?
Correct, yes.
Correct. So it goes back, it extends back to the bush line and incorporates a much enhanced environmental protection, vegetation protection area. And again, this is going to require a zoning amendment, and council will be reviewing it, and planning staff will be bringing forward a planning report based on our rezoning application. So either one will be then will require the zoning amendment, along with the retained lands to be zoned agricultural consolidation.
So this one was the first, right?
That's the first one, correct.
I did see it, but I just wanted to see it.
So there's
Oh,
the
okay.
vegetation protection area. See how enhanced that is? And so if we go with this one, we'll be required to rezone that environmental protection in favor of enhancing the buffer between the wetland and the creek. And there would be no agricultural lands preserved behind the house. We're talking 50 hectares of agricultural land for the retained land. There's lots of farmland for this particular property. So I, as a planner, would go with this one, but I can support both of them based on your preference.
Henry?
Through you, Chair, to the applicant. So how many acres is behind there? Like,
What we were able to do between this plan and the other plan is about a 1 acre difference. That's it. So originally we were proposing 1.95 hectares, which is this shows, which is about 4.95 acres. And we've got it down on the second one at 1.44 hectares, or approximately, I think it's 3.85, but I could I'd have to just look at my drawing there. Yes, 3.55 acres. So, if you like the idea of the environmental protection area and not having the remnant tail of some agricultural land, then this is the proposal that would be appropriate to go with. If you like the shorter lot area, and this is something that has come about because in the policies in the official plan for the county, they say generally 1 hectare in size for a surplus farm dwelling lot severance. Generally. Then they've asked for 1.25. We're suggesting 1.44. The township's official plan says no more than 2 hectares in size. So we're kind of in between the county official plan and the town official plan, township official plan. So we can work with whatever, but the position of the dwelling dictates that we need some amenity area behind the house. And I know that the house has been put back from the county a fair distance. Now, that, of course, that's because of the traffic and the noise. So it's a good plan either way. I just would like to have that one direction of whether you want to try to save a sliver of land for the agricultural retained lands to be utilized somehow. Bearing in mind that once, you're trying to grow crops in that area, you're trying to spray them, it's right beside the house, that kind of disturbance, manure spreading, or do we say we're all in for the environmental protection buffer area? So it's entirely up to the two of you or all of you, and I'll take direction and then I'll speak to the application on why the merits of that proposal will go forward and should be approved.
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Sure. So my feeling is if county official plan says 1 hectare is what they prefer, that we should be doing what we can to preserve agricultural land. The county's compromised at 1.25. And I don't feel comfortable going any more than 1.25. So that's my position. Thank you.
The Secretary Treasurer has a comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that the conditions that are in the script for tonight to be read out are taking into consideration the county's conditions that they wished for, as well as the 1.25 hectares that they've requested. So there are some new conditions compared to what the planner Belcourt has put in her staff report. But ultimately, it's up to the Committee of Adjustment to decide which conditions they want to impose. So that would be a discussion as well amongst you if you wanted to add the conditions that the county has asked for you to add. If that makes sense. So essentially, the County of Simcoe requested a reduced lot size and 3 conditions in their letter. And staff have updated conditions 4 and added in condition 9 and 10 to reflect the county's comments appropriately. And condition 6 already speaks to prohibiting residential uses on the retained farmlands, like the county has also asked.
Thank you. Brad?
I have a question for somebody on staff. I presume that we can't, the application is for 1.44 hectares or something like that. We can't now make a resolution of 1.25, right? Does the application have to come back or can we do that?
No, you actually can
Oh,
approve it tonight with that comment that it has to stay around 1.25. So as we put it in the new condition that was added, so it was condition number 4. Oh, sorry, no, number 9, that the severed residential lot be approximately 1.25 hectares in size to the satisfaction of the County of Simcoe. So it'll be up to the County of Simcoe to confirm if it meets their satisfaction.
okay. So that wasn't in any report that we received. I mean, it's just in what Ms. Chapman has.
Go ahead, go ahead. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Correct. So essentially, the County of Simcoe did send us comments this week. So the report had already been published. So Planner Belcourt and myself kind of updated the comments to match what the committee, or sorry, what the county was requesting, just in preparation as if you wanted to accept their application based on the county's additional conditions.
Through the chair, I am comfortable accepting it as per the county's recommendations, the 1.25. Thank you.
Henry?
A question, can you tell me what the distance is from the property line, which is zoned, you either can make it agricultural or environmentally protected? So what is the distance? Like how wide is it? Or the dimensions, length and width? So from the green line back to the watershed, how many feet is that?
About 150 feet. So if you're talking about this distance from here to
Yep.
there, it's about 150 feet or 50 meters.
Okay,
So these lands are zone EP. Now, the township's zoning bylaw, it's very hard to scale it. I mean, it was hand drawn originally, so we've done the best we possibly can to identify where the floodplain is through our environmental protection or environmental impact study. So we have determined that's where the boundary line, so that's where the zone boundary should be. And this would be agriculture, and that's 50 meters. But this is what the growth plan requires, is 30 meters setback from the boundary line of the natural heritage feature. So that comes into this lot. And obviously we can't, create a lot line through here because it'd be just too small based on the dwelling. So we took off 50 meters off the lot to achieve what we possibly, as much as we could, to accommodate some future accessory uses such as the workshop and the amenity area. But the workshop, see, this area here is the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority's regulatory area. So any development in there has to seek approval from the Conservation Authority first. So as you can see, if this is actually the developable area of the lot that we're proposing through this, we're going to lose this area for sure because that's environmental protection. And if we put this driveway that goes to the back workshop into this red shaded area, we actually have to get a permit to do that from the Conservation Authority if they will allow it. I'm sure they would. So this land is kind of the gray area of what you can and cannot put in there. Outside of that area is developable. So that's the lot. Like we try to push everything to the corner. We try to maximize as much as we possibly can. And like this is all improved area because of the septic system, the well, the grading off the house. So the 1.44, once you take off the lands that we're going to lose from environmental protection and the limitations of the floodplain area of the Conservation Authority, we're well within the 1.25. I mean, it's a very good compromise to achieve what the county is trying to achieve as well. So we're in your hands. For all the right reasons, this could be the one to go with. So if you wish to adhere to the county's agricultural policies versus the environmental protection policies. As far as the conditions, I wasn't aware of the conditions. So with respect to myself, I'd like to, if you have a copy of them, I'd like to look at them before we address that section once we've talked about the proposal. Very good. Through you, Madam Chair, if the second proposal, is that the feeling that I'm getting that we wish to move forward with that one? And if so, then I'd like to just segue right into the conditions.
Did you get the cap?
I've read the county letter. I have it here. Right, so when they said to reduce the size to approximately 1.25 hectares, and then including the conditions. So approximately, it's very hard to reduce the width any further because there are no agricultural lands beyond the 10-meter section that we took off to the west. If we put I don't know if can we put back the site plan, the sketch plan? I'll just show you the areas that it doesn't make any sense to go beyond the 10 meters is what I'm getting at. There is some room. Yes, absolutely. If you would like another 5 meters off, that's doable. So we took the 10 meters off of here. We went right to the developed area line. That's the boundary line. So we were out here, and quite frankly, that made a little bit more sense is to move it and save that agricultural land because that is actually arable. So we moved it this way, and that's 10 meters by what was 205 meters. So that's a fair bit of agricultural land that's being further preserved. And then we moved the line back another 50 meters from the bush area. So if that portion is appropriate to be saved for agricultural purposes and not environmental, because bear in mind the agricultural uses do not have to respect the environmental protection buffer zones. So agriculture is the prominent land use versus the environmental protection. I'm not of the same thought because of the size of the retained lands, but so they can farm this and no protection area be put in. So, but your point's well taken. Is there some space still left here? Really, the only developable area is this piece here, as we come back a little bit. So we could come back another 5 meters, possibly another, 10 meters. But after that, we've got setback issues for the proposed workshop area. So this area is where we're allowed to develop without having to get a conservation authority's development permit. So sure. Yeah, you're right. We could put the workshop area out front. It's not the most appropriate development proposal, but it's certainly possible.
I use my microphone. I'm sorry. I'd like to hear what Henry has to say about this.
Yeah, so the reason I asked what the area was in width at the back for agricultural purposes, because sprayers are 120 feet wide and to turn around and for drift and all that. So that was my concern if it's just a sliver of land, then the line should be made, I'm saying should be made straight down to the creek. So that the green strip that's there, that's environmentally protected?
This area here is not. It's zone agriculture now. Both the Conservation Authority and the planning staff of both the county and the township would see those lands rezoned to environmental protection. So as part of our environmental impact analysis, the recommendation from our environmentalist consultant recommended that we have a minimum buffer area of 30 meters between here and the wetland or the stream.
Okay, but the property or the land that's on the south of that, where the green and red stripes are, what is that?
That's just the boundary line. So that just shows that the green is the line for the severance and the red is retained lands.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, well, I'm in favor then of making it that size. There's a big piece of property there already. some point in time later on, if needed to be made bigger, you would have to come forth as to why it should be made bigger, but to me, I leave it the way it is right there like that. Yeah, I would just make it the same size as what that green line is right there now. Yeah. Having that still agriculture in the back and just as that shows there.
Another option is that if you wanted to defer this back to the county to get new sketches made up, we can do that, or I'm not sure how you feel on that, but just an option.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may speak to that, I think my client would like to proceed with the second option, and we can talk about the conditions should the committee wish me to proceed on this one option. So if the revised option 2 is more palatable, then I'd like to speak to it and the merits of the application and then proceed with the conditions of a review.
So I'm in favor of option 2. And I would like to hear those conditions if everyone else is good with that. It's not approved, but just see the options.
Right, through the chair, I think either way, we have to discuss the options. Because either it's going to pass or it's not. And if it's going to pass, even though it may not be unanimous, we need to discuss the option.
If you want to discuss the conditions, you can go ahead.
I'm sure. I think one of your committee members did want to speak.
Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I'm not sure if it's a procedure issue, but so the application before us was recommended to be approved by the planning report. And then subsequent to that, some changes to that recommendation happened, right? Some more conditions, correct?
So yeah, essentially our planner wrote a report with a recommendation to approve it subject to the conditions. And once the application was circulated to the Simcoe County, they gave their support subject to the additional conditions, which Planner Belcourt has worked into the conditions here that I have up on my screen. But at the end of the day, it is up to the committee to come to the decision and to implement which conditions they want to be included with that decision. These are just suggested conditions.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. So it's now a bit of a moot point because the applicant's saying they're happy to go with option 2. So the issues between 1 and 2, I had some questions, but they're moot now. So really, it's option 2. Do we like it or not?
No. Never voted on it.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
That's the question before us.
No.
I see it. There's 3 options. There's the original proposal, this new proposal, or the reductions, further reduction as per what the county has asked for. If I'm wrong, tell me.
Through you, Madam Chair. We put up the sketch plan option 2 that I'm going to say we're going with. Okay, so that's good. And to reduce it to 1.25 between 1.25 or 1.44 with the environmental lands, they're quoting 1.25 lot area. I'm assuming that they're talking about developable area. I don't think that the planner really understood that we're actually rezoning from agriculture to environmental protection on these lands and that there's a floodplain area here. But the difference between 1.25 and 1.44 hectares is 0.19 of a hectare, like maybe a 0.4 of an acre. Like it's minimal. The intent, the spirit, the appropriateness from a planning perspective is that it's a surplus farm severance. We're trying to reduce the amount of area that we can work with in terms of land for the surplus dwelling lot and maintain the retained lands at 50 plus hectares. Like that's large. The minimum requirement for a farm in Springwater is 35 hectares, approximately 86 acres in size. So it's well above the 35 hectares. And the amount of land that we're saving is in an area that is questionable as to whether it can be appropriately farmed, but this is what we're going with. So I asked for a little bit of compromise in the sense that a good 25% of this lot is subject to either environmental protection zone or conservation review. And we're trying to get, amenity area and a workshop behind here in front of, outside of the floodplain area. I understand that they're asking for 1.25. I don't think it's as specific as that. They're saying approximately 1.25 hectares. I think we're there, but to me, it's reasonable. I leave it to the committee. In terms of conditions, sorry, before, do you have any questions on the site plan that's being before? We have amended the application specifically to address that lot size for the record.
Anyone have any questions on the diagram?
So, excuse me, through you, Chair, so it's 1.44 hectares is what you're required or asking for.
That's what we're asking for, inclusive of the lands being rezoned to environmental protection and acknowledging that the regulatory area is part of the lot. So it's not 1.25 hectares of developable land that we're asking for. It's something less than that. So do you want, the green area and the shaded area are very restricted in terms of the development of that property. So, if I could get 1.25 hectares of developable land, I'd just move the entire lot over this way and get it. But we wanted to ensure that, I could take a sliver of land off of here and then the retained lands would go up here. I don't think that makes any sense. So, because if we could get rid of the environmental protection lands, we would do it, keep it with the farm, but it's better to have the lot right into the corner of the property. And then there's no man's land doesn't exist. And, it's much better to have these lands zone EP for the buffer area. So it's a great compromise, but I leave it to you. If you want 1.25 and go back to the county and work this out, I think at the end of the day, they're going to say, good job.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead, Henry.
I just like to make a comment on this here is that, like, I've never had this happen before, is that somebody comes in, this is the proposal, this is what you want. Now you're asking us to pick one. Well, it's not for us to pick one. It's you're the one who have to pick one and then present it to us and we say yes or no. So that's my comment.
Madam Chair, if I can answer that question.
Yeah, go ahead. And I also think that it's because of the conditions coming back from the county at the last
second. I mean, they came in, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before yesterday at 4:56 or 4:46 p.m. after everybody's closed up shop. So in fairness to us, we didn't know the county had any concerns whatsoever. Have they been out to the site? I don't know. They didn't contact me today. I think that the revision is in the spirit of what the conditions that they're asking for. So, but that is why we have made the amendment formally based on their comments yesterday. yesterday evening. We had a meeting at 7:30 last night out at the property just to be able to visualize what it would look like on a reduction. So, and my clients agreed that option number 2 would be plausible to be presented. And now we've made that amendment. So I'm not asking you to choose anymore based on a discussion. I'm asking you to make a decision on this lot size. And bearing in mind that we've addressed what we could with regards to the recommendations. They didn't rationalize why they're asking for a reduction in lot size. And bear in mind, the township's official plan says 2 hectares in size. So there's disparity between the county official plan and the township official plan. We're caught in the middle. I think this is a good plan.
Brad, go ahead.
Just a comment to the chair. I think the number came from pushing the south property line north 20 meters, which gets up to the disturbed area. Is that what you called it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Plus, condition 9 did say approximately 1.2 hectares in size, the satisfaction of the county. So if you go back and if we approve, if we do 1.44, it says approximately, right? So, and the satisfaction. So if you throw the EP in there, that could be, in my opinion, the satisfaction part.
So the chair, I don't have a problem. I don't mind disagreeing and having
Yeah.
different opinions. That's fine.
That's what we're here for. Did you want to talk about the
Conditions.
conditions?
Thank you very much.
Is that okay with
May I speak to that?
members?
So can we just, okay, number one, we don't have a problem with, of course. Number 2, we don't have a problem with, that's a survey. Number 3, section 65 of the Drainage Act, you're asking us to be responsible for all costs. What are those costs? How much would it be?
Go ahead, Secretary, Treasurer.
So that condition is if applicable. So essentially, I, as a secretary treasurer, will reach out to our drainage superintendent to see if you are assessed, if the property is assessed into any drainage agreement. And then what happens is if it is, then it gets divvied up based on the size of the property and how much of the property is in that drainage. So that one could be not applicable, or the amount will vary depending, but that's something that's a standard condition that we put on all of our applications here at the township.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Go
How
ahead.
much? Because that's a blank check, that condition. So you got to put an upset limit in fairness to anybody that's receiving this condition.
So unfortunately, we aren't able to have numbers off the top. Like, it's just something that there are different fees that will come about once if the committee approves it and you have to clear the conditions. Those numbers vary. I don't have an exact number because unfortunately that's not my area of expertise. That would be up to our superintendent of the drainage.
Brad? Henry?
Through your chair is to Danielle, is the property assessed into a municipal drain?
I don't believe so. And I say that only because usually when it is, we get comments back from our drainage superintendent telling us that it is assessed into it. And we did not receive those comments this time for this application. However, I don't want to say 100% with certainty because it could be that he might have missed it. But I don't think so. I don't believe so. I wasn't informed that it is. So it's likely not applicable.
Madam Chair, I can answer that question. I asked the owners, they have never been assessed for drainage assessment. So I don't think it's a problem, but I'm just bringing it out that it's it's a blank check that you're asking for technically, but I'm not taking exception to it. I'm just saying, I was just asking if you knew how much it was.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't, but I don't believe that it will be applicable in your case.
Okay. Number 4. So the temporary use agreement. The temporary use agreement was established so that the original heritage home, century home, could be demolished and the new house could be constructed. And we entered into that agreement the opportunity to decommission the house, so versus demolish the house, has been requested by Mr. Ritchie. And to achieve that, we need to go back to council and amend the agreement if they are acceptable to that. So I was hoping that we could consider a different wording of that condition. And it would all be to the satisfaction of council, but it would allow Mr. Ritchie to make a delegation or to request that council consider a decommissioning of the house, which would mean basically taking out all the things that would facilitate a habitable dwelling unit. So possibly, or the kitchen for sure, possibly anything more than a two fixture bathroom, and it would be able to maintain the water service there and heating area, because the barns are not heated. So if staff had to go to the washroom, they could actually go into the building itself. So that condition would be that the owner or applicant satisfy the temporary use agreement and or amendments thereto to the satisfaction of council.
Sorry, Secretary Treasurer, can that be reworded, or can that condition be, I don't know, deferred?
Ultimately, it is up to the committee amongst yourselves to decide on which conditions you want to include in your decision. When our planner writes it in the recommendation report, those are suggested conditions, and you're able to amend them, take some out, add some. So it's up to the committee to decide on the conditions.
Brad?
Thank you. I wouldn't support changing that condition. My understanding of the policy is that if you're going to sever a lot with a house on it, that's fine. The rest of the lot goes to agricultural. I don't know what the future use of this house is. I'm skeptical maybe, but I wouldn't support it with a change to that condition. Thank you.
Henry?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's you built a new house and the agreement was to have the old house taken down and leaving it, and so that, I mean, it's going to fall down. Like, I mean, it's just so I would have that stay in, that it be removed.
Maybe to the Secretary Treasurer, can that be, the existing dwelling be changed into a residential unit?
Thank you, Chairman Chapman. I would like to defer your question to our planner, Deborah, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Deborah.
Thank you, Danielle, and thank you, Chair. As you're aware, Planner Belcourt was the planner on this file. I am up to speed on it. Usually, if this is going to be the case, it would be something that would be addressed at the beginning of the application process. If the idea was to convert the existing dwelling that was supposed to be removed into, let's say, an accessory structure, then it would need to meet all building code requirements in order to deem that an accessory structure and not a residential dwelling. Again, that discussion has not taken place at this time. Yeah, so the way that the condition is worded is that he would need to fulfill the requirements of the existing temporary use agreement, which means that structure is to be removed. If the applicant wishes to keep that structure, what I would recommend is that this application be deferred so that discussion can be had with building staff, with the applicant, to ensure that that is the process that they want to go through. Again, because it does change the application. I'd just like to reiterate that this is a farm surplus dwelling severance. You cannot have two dwellings on a property. So that is the reason for this condition, that this original farm dwelling be removed because the new dwelling was built, which is being severed off through this surplus. So this this condition is important. I would not want to have this condition removed at this time. And if the applicant wants to keep that structure, what I would recommend is that this application be deferred to allow the appropriate departments to review and see if it's even feasible. I'm not too sure of the existing dwelling and what would need to be removed in order for it to become an accessory structure. The other thing that needs to be considered is how big is this structure? Is it going to meet the size requirements for an accessory structure on that property? All things that need to be considered as part of the application, which again, this is new information to me at this point. So I hope that provides some clarification on changing this condition at this time.
Thank you, Deborah.
Madam Chair, may I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the planner's input. The intent was to change the condition to the satisfaction of council. So we weren't going to eliminate it. We were going to just change the wording of it so that an amendment could be possible through further negotiation. As far as lot size and lot coverage and accessory building, it's 50 hectares. The existing farmhouse, it's about 1,000 square foot footprint. Not going to make any difference. It will certainly comply to your minimum provisions. That said, if it's not palatable, please leave the condition in as stated. Number 5, we have no concern about the rezoning for the environmental protection lands. Number 6, the AC zone, the agricultural consolidation zone, we have no problem rezoning the retained lands for agricultural consolidation. Number 7, we know that the well and septic system are wholly within the proposed lot, but that we can identify that, I believe, through the surveying. They may not be able to put it on the reference plan because they don't normally put items of that are improved on the land on a reference plan. It would be more of a real property survey report. But we can have the surveyor confirm in writing that the well location and the septic system location are within the limits of the proposed lot. So that shouldn't be a problem at all. Number 9, that the severed residential lot, number 8, that the transfer demonstrating that the retained farmlands will be transferred to a bona fide farmer. Nancy and Mike are bona fide farmers. This parcel, the retained lands are registered in both of their names. The Homeland Farm, which is on the 7th of Floss East, is also registered under Nancy and Michael Ritchie. So that consolidation has been done. There isn't going to be any transfer of retained lands. It's just that they're consolidating. They've consolidated these 2 parcels under their one ownership. So they're not merging together because they're separated physically, but the farms are operating under the one operation of their name. So I would ask to have that removed, or at the very least, just to have them confirm that of ownership, the same ownership of the 2 farm parcels. Number 9, approximately 1.25 hectares. If, I would ask you not to put the 1.25 in, or say 1.44, that's 1.25, then I have to go back and figure out a lot configuration. So I would ask for some flexibility there. And number 10, that the applicant remove the existing entrance from the County Road 19. So a little bit of history there. The original farmhouse had 1 entrance. A second entrance was added to achieve the mobility of the large trucks that are coming in to pick up the crops. So they were swinging around the house. So that's why there was 2 entrances. At the time when the new entrance was installed at the far east corner of the lot for the new house, one of the conditions was that the eastern entrance be removed, and we fully wish to comply to that. So we're going to do that. No issue whatsoever. Does it create a problem from farming perspective? It does, but if that's the county's requirement, then we'll deal with that at a later date. So by all means, leave that in if that's what you believe is appropriate. So I have no other further comments, so you'll be glad to hear that.
Go ahead, and Henry.
Through you, Madam Chair, is I would like that this all be deferred. And that the applicant come in with a application stating this, and this, and that's what we vote on, and not having different things that we have to look at. Like, so I'd ask that this whole thing be deferred and that you come back with a application stating lot size, what you're doing with the house, the farmhouse, what you're doing with the laneways, everything.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Our application has been amended to the proposed second option. It indicates all the lot frontage, all the lot areas. We've agreed to all the conditions other than the one about the transfer, which has already been done. So it's, I don't know how we do provide you with a transfer when we're not transferring the lands. And the second one, the committee has to decide whether 1.44 hectares with the EP lands or 1.25 somehow makes sense.
Go ahead, Mike.
Two comments. The issue about the transfer, there is no transfer. So maybe a solution would be to insert the words that the retained farmlands, if transferred, will be transferred to a bona fide farmer. Because there is no transfer going on. And secondly, I have no issue with the 1.44 as applied for.
Go ahead.
Sure. I'm fine with voting on this. I would like the 1.25 meters. I would like the bona fide. I think if we take it out or if transferred, that could cause a problem far in the future if they go to transfer it. If this gets put into the designated area of Elmville and then they want to transfer it to a developer, but it says it can only go to a bona fide farmer, it could be a problem. So getting an undertaking is just visiting a lawyer and signing a piece of paper saying we're bona fide lawyers, farmers. I would like the house condition to remain and the size reduced, but that's where I sit. I don't think there's much to be gained by deferring it. I think the applicant is kind of ready to go, and I think the conditions are for the most part reasonable. Thank you.
Now I'm good with 1.44 with the green being EP to be put in there. So 9 could be approximately 1.25 hectares up to 144. I'm not sure if that's an option, but it's also the satisfaction of the county. And I'm good with the rest, but it's.
May I ask a question, Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Mike, did you say you were good with 1.44 or did you not offer? Okay. So I would suggest, and I wouldn't do it, that somebody makes the motion as we've discussed at 1.44 and it be voted on. That's my personal opinion. I'm not the chair. I'm just.
Go ahead.
Last comment, I apologize. I do like putting a range in from 1.25 to 1.44. And again, it's to the satisfaction of the county. So whatever their intent is for that condition will be satisfied.
At this moment, I just wanted to see if there's any more comments before we continue. Henry?
So is the house being addressed in this motion that we're doing? Okay,
Has to be.
okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so going back to, is there a benefit to having the range, frankly? Or would it make sense to say a maximum of 1.44? Like, do we need a range? Why not just put a maximum?
Yeah, we can put a maximum. I was just thinking in between, but a maximum.
So can I make a motion?
I'm just going to ask the moderator, are there any members of the public register to make an oral submission?
Thank you. There are no members of the public who have registered to make an oral submission.
So may I have a motion from one of the committee members for the application B 10-23? Mike, go ahead.
I'll make that motion, that application and the included 10 conditions be approved with one change in the size from 1.25 hectares as recommended by the county to a maximum of 1.44 hectares. And with that change, I recommend it be approved.
May I have a seconder? Henry? Now I get to read. That the Committee of Adjustments, having given consideration to applicable provisions of the Section 53 of the Planning Act, the official plan of the Township of Springwater, the characteristics of the land in question and its surrounding as addressed in the planning report on the application dated September 27, 2023, the correspondence received and information presented at the hearing held on September 27, 2023, and that the decision of the matter hereby approved the application as applied for subject of the following conditions. One, that the applicant meet all requirements, financial or otherwise, of the municipality. Two, that the applicant provide 2 copies of the registered survey of the severed lot prepared by the Ontario Land Surveyor. 3, that the owner applicant satisfy and be responsible for all costs to Section 65 of the Drainage Act 1990, if applicable. 4, that the original dwelling be removed from the retained lands to satisfy the requirements of the temporary use agreement TU 2021-001 of the County of Simcoe conditional entrance permit 4219 prior to the registration of the consent. 5, that the applicant rezone a portion of the severed lands to the Environment Protection Exception EP-XX zone to satisfy the recommendation of the scoped Natural Heritage Evaluation dated July 31st, 2023, to the satisfaction of the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority and the township, that the applicant rezone the retained lands to the Agricultural Consolidation AC zone to prohibit residential use and ensure the keeping of the livestock in the existing agricultural buildings be subject to MDS. 7, that it be confirmed that the private well and septic system are wholly contained within the property limits of the severed residential land to the satisfaction of the chief building official. 8, that the applicant provide an undertaking and draft transfer demonstrating that the retained farmlands will be transferred to a bona fide farmer. 9, that the severed residential lot be a maximum 1.44 hectares to the satisfaction of the county of Simcoe. And 10, the applicant shall remove the existing entrance from the County Road 19, Queen Street East, that provides access to the east side of the surplus farm dwelling to be demolished and restore the boulevard to its original condition to the satisfaction of the County of Simcoe. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate going through the thoroughness of the application.
Is there any other business to discuss this evening? May I have a move and a seconder to adjourn the meeting? Mike and Henry, that this Committee of Adjustments meeting held on September 27, 2023 does now adjourn at 7:23 p.m. All in favor?